Summertime is time for dessert, and we're going to go ahead and start with Oreos today, which is, according to the package, Milk's favorite cookie. And you know what? I'm following him in with a close second. First, we're going to grind these up just to make sure we've got enough for what we're going to be making the crust of this beautiful dessert, okay? It called for either chocolate graham crackers or Oreos or chocolate cookies. Well, shoot, Oreo crumb crust sounds amazing. So you're going to get 2 cups of that, and you're going to start with that, okay? Just pour it into your mixing bowl. And then we're going to use 3 tablespoons of melted butter to hold everything together. Now, be careful with this, okay? It can get a little bit tricky. You're going to get one of those little rubber spatulas and you're going to continue to fold the butter into the crumbs, okay? But now, be careful, because sometimes that butter can hide in little pockets while you're stirring, all right? So whenever you use these little spatulas, you can go underneath all of the crumbs and make sure that you get all of that butter from off of the bottom of the bowl and get it mixed in there with your crust crumbs, okay? God, look at that. That looks like the richest, most beautiful soil. I bet you could grow an acre of cotton in soil that dark and beautiful. Look at that. Oh my gosh. So whenever you get that nice and stirred, you're just going to drop that right down into the bottom of your pan. Now, I choose to use one of these round pans. I love a 9-inch round just because whenever I use something like this, it just seems a lot easier to kind of dish out whenever it's done. The recipe called for a 9x13, but I just thought that seemed like it was just too far spread out. So what we're going to do is go ahead and put these crumbs down for our crust. Please make sure that you go all the way to the edges with it, okay? Now we're going to bake it for 8 to 10 minutes at 375 just to make sure it gets nice and set. Now we're going to put in a little bit of vanilla jello, pudding, not the gelatin, please, thank you. And you're going to add 1 cup of whole milk to it. Now I prefer using cow milk and I prefer using whole milk, but I guess you could adjust that recipe however you deem necessary. And then you're just going to get your whisk down in here and make it up. Just zuzz it up, okay? Doesn't take long. I mean, this really comes together very, very quickly. It's beautiful. So once you get all that really nice and whisked together, what we're going to do is go ahead and put it aside, put it in the fridge, and let it kind of congeal for a bit. I want it to get just a little bit more solid than the consistency we're working with right now, okay? Great. Now, the exact same thing that we did with this vanilla, we're going to get this off screen, and we're going to do the same thing with chocolate. So we're just going to get us another mixing bowl, chocolate jello pudding, pour it right into the bowl, same thing, 1 cup of cold whole milk, and we're just going to mix it up and get ready. These are going to be the layers of our dessert. We've got a pudding layer, 2 of them actually, 1 vanilla pudding and 1 chocolate pudding. And for this one, I'm going to use this handy-dandy little zhuzher. I got this whisk on Amazon, and it is so fun. Now, here's a little tip that I learned today while making this. It's great until things start to get a little bit thick, okay? Because it'll gum up the works of that little jewel in no time flat. The good news is you can use the end of it like a whisk, so whenever you get to the point where it's really not blending so well anymore, you can just use it just like you would a regular wire whisk. Boom. See? Easy peasy. We're going to get a little bit of the pudding on that stirrer off, and then we're going to put this aside as well into the fridge to help congeal. Beautiful. Now we're going to work on the main body of this dessert. It's almost like a cheesecake. It's got cream cheese. You're going to use an entire 8-ounce package of it, softened to room temperature. This stuff is always such a nightmare to try to get off this wrapper, so y'all excuse me if I use a little movie magic and zizz up to the front. Boom. There you are. Now then, we're going to use 3/4 cup of powdered sugar. We're just going to put that right there on top. And now you are probably going to need a hand mixer for this. That's what I'd recommend for it. And make sure you keep your little rubber spatula handy, because then that way you can pull down all of that confectioner sugar off the sides of the bowl there into the batter, okay? So I like to start off real low and just kind of get it a little bit higher as it continues to fold together. And then, just remove those beaters and you'll have what's left of that perfect center. Look at that. Now we're going to take an entire thing of Cool Whip, okay? But we're only going to be using about a cup of it in this center part, okay? So you're going to scoop out 1 cup of your whip topping, Cool Whip, whatever, right there into it. And then you're going to use that rubber spatula, just go ahead and fold those 2 together. So here we've got our 8 ounces of cream cheese, 3/4 cup of confectioner's sugar, and about a cup of Cool Whip. Continue to fold that in together. It's going to give it just a little bit more of a lightness, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. It makes it so creamy and delicious. Now we've baked our crust for about 10 minutes and left it to cool. And what we're going to do is go ahead and get that beautiful main layer that we made earlier. This is the one with the cream cheese and the confectioner's sugar and the Cool Whip, okay? Yes, we're just going to put that right there on top. Now, I want to make sure I give you all a word of warning. Whenever you're dealing with a really crumbly crust like this one, sometimes you might want to put just a little bit more butter into it to hold it together so it doesn't crumble into your layers. You see how it's already starting to kind of crumble in there? It's not a problem because we're going to have plenty of layers to cover it. So, you know, perfection isn't our goal. Delicious is, and we got that in spades. But if you want to have it just a little bit better put together, add just a little bit more butter to the crumbs to make sure they stay on that bottom layer and don't get stuck in any of your creamier layers up top. Now, whenever we get to that point, I'm going to have to use just a little bit of finger magic too, because I got to get some of this off of the spatula and cover up some of these naked spots right there on the side. Okay, yeah, exactly, just like that. Just to kind of fill it in, you know, consider that to be like the mortar in this beautiful masterpiece that we're putting together. Fantastic. A lot of folks holler at me for not wearing gloves. Please pardon me. I'm sorry. I don't mean to upset anybody, but this is for me and my family. Next, we're going to do some of that chocolate pudding. We've had it in the fridge for about half an hour now, and we're going to stir it up just to make sure it's not just one giant glorp, okay? You want to make sure that you've got plenty of it to spread around. Oh, my goodness. Look at the texture of that. Oh, my gosh. I can't wait. Golly bum. I'm getting hungry just looking at this. But yeah, you want to scrape as much of that out of the bottom of the bowl as you can. You don't want to waste any. Plus, we want to make sure that we got plenty of this to go to the sides of the pan, right? Exactly. So you're going to do the same thing. You're just going to start to work from the center and work your way out and just try to get all that chocolate out to the sides. Now, I'm found that it is almost impossible to get this all the way out with some kind of mixing happening. So whenever that happens, don't be upset with yourself, all right? It's going to be fine because we are going to cover it in just a second. I'll show you what I'm talking about. But yeah, I love this chocolate pudding. It is so rich and so creamy, and that texture is so good. Ooh, yeah. Whenever you get to this point, you're going to try to go out to the edges, but you're going to start to see that it's starting to kind of like blend with that cream cheese layer. Great. Go with it. Just do that all the way around, and you don't have to worry about it. Chocolate center with a blended edge. Totally fine. Here comes our vanilla. I wish you'd look at that gorgeous yellow color. Ooh, I love it. Same thing with the chocolate. Just blend it. Mix it up, okay? Make sure that it's not sticking to the sides of the bowl. None of that. And just put it right down there in the middle. We're going to work the same way we did with the chocolate on this. Going to start in the middle and work our way out to the edges. There you go. That almost looks like cornbread batter. Almost. I must have cornbread on the brain. But yeah, you're just going to work that vanilla pudding out to the sides. No problem. This actually works out a lot better than the chocolate or the white layer did. Look at that, how nice. Getting great coverage, and we got very little blending there on the edges. So I think this is doing really, really well. There you are. Yes, please. God, it's going to be so good when we finish. Now then, the last layer is a little bit of Cool Whip. We're going to take what we have left whenever we use that cup in that white layer, and we're just going to put it right here on top. Now, some folks say they want to use real whipped cream. They want to whip it themselves. They want to use it out of the spray bottle. Y'all, this is your recipe. Do with it as you please. Whatever makes you happy, go for it. 100% that. You don't have to do it exactly the way I do it. It'll be great if you do. But if you make some options, go with it. That's the thing I love about working in the kitchen. There's so much creative involved. If there's something in there you don't like, well, take it out. If you think something else tastes better, well, substitute it. You don't need my permission. Beautiful. See how all those layers are covered? Completely by that Cool Whip. Now then, our secret last ingredient, a little special dark cocoa. Put it in your sifter so it doesn't get any clumps, and just gently tap it over the top of that gorgeous dessert. Look at that, how beautiful. Light, airy, and delicious as they come. You can serve this with a slotted spoon, or you can take a spatula to it, however you prefer it, but I wish you'd look at all those beautiful layers. Eat up, y'all.